Welcome to Coffee Chats with Jess, everybody. I am really very grateful that you could all join me on this beautiful journey. I hope you can see my screen. And I'm very excited for you guys to join me on this journey with Coffee Chats with Jess about all things real. And today we're going to be talking about energy, and we're going to be focusing on introducing the topic of mindfulness. So basically, before we get started with the two inspirational speakers that we've invited to this chat, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what inspired me to do such an event. So for those of you who don't know me or don't know my story, I moved from South Africa in March 2020 to the UK. And ever since then, I've been on a spiritual journey, just learning, reflecting, unlearning, etc. And I've also decided to be brave and put myself out there in terms of basically, putting my online presence. I've never been an online person, never been a social media person. So I decided to choose LinkedIn and put myself out there and just, see how it goes. And the reason I've done this is to feed my curiosity. I have a lot of questions. I'm tired of having these questions just for myself. So I thought, let me just ask some inspirational, professional individuals who have the same type of questions, who all have the same type of, frame of mind as me. So over lockdown, a few things happened, guys. To some people, they struggled, and the struggle was real in terms of mental wellness, well-being, etc. However, I decided that I was going to start scribbling in my little book. So what I did is, what you see here is how this whole event started. There's a little page with a bunch of mind maps, and this is literally how it all started, which led us to this event, which is just the start. I'm just letting you know this is an awareness campaign, and from here we will move to more practical ways. I started scribbling all these ideas in this book. I also stopped smoking over lockdown. For about 13 years, I smoked a box a day, and basically, just being self-liberated and free from all those things that were holding me down and holding my energies tight, and trying to redirect that energy. Additional to that, I've been doing yoga with one of the ladies is actually on the call for about 3 years. We've been doing yoga every day, Monday to Sunday, and been practicing a lot of mindfulness. I have the ability to switch off, but the mindfulness journey has taught me so much about life. Don't know if anyone knows this little book. It's by Teddy Rowan. This is like my little go-to book. I will be sharing all these resources. The speakers will be sharing the resources tomorrow and all of that. So basically, guys, I truly believe that majority of the humans being live unconsciously and not in the present moment. However, it's in that present moment we find the most truth or the realist answer that we perhaps might be seeking. I've studied, my organizational psychology, industrial psychology in South Africa, and I did my master's in that. I grew a deep passion and curiosity for perceptions and discovered that the only thing in life that we have is the freedom of choice. So we have the freedom of choice to how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive the world around us. Just a little bit about my paradigm. I come from the existential theory, which is you can get inspiration from Viktor Frankl, which is man's search for meaning, and cognitive behavioral therapy, as that's my world view, where I, structure myself in my paradigm. So before we move on to the nice things, which is the speakers, because I don't want to do a lot of the talking, please excuse me. I want to share with you guys the aims of the event and, what led us to doing this. So the aim is to provide people with insight into themselves and into their interactions with others to better adapt and overcome challenging or unknown situations. This in turn allows us to be free from our own irrational negative views or perceptions of ourselves. As human beings, we have to evolve, expand, and into better versions of ourselves. My biggest goal in this event, so each event's going to have a different goal, of course. My biggest goal in this event is for you guys to understand your energies. Where do you get it from? How it's been depleted? And how can we enhance interactions in groups or teams? So really just understanding that energy. So before I carry on speaking too much, because I'm an extrovert and I love speaking, I would like to start by saying, why energy? Honestly, why energy? Energy is everything. That's all there is to it. If you match the frequency of that reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality, it can be no other way. This is literally not philosophy. This is physics. So I love Albert Einstein. Funny enough, all my quotes are around Albert Einstein, very wise man. But at the same time, we can take what we want from this definition. So without further ado, I would really like to introduce SASTA KUPPAN, which is a young, inspirational, energetic human who I've been having, chats with about energy. And I'd really just love to have a coffee chat with SASTA today. I've had countless conversations around energy, how she defines it. We share common curiosity. So why not have a coffee chat about it? We're not experts in energy, but we have a deep understanding of what it's meant to us and the world around us. So please do join us on this journey of self-liberation and exploration. So we're going to start by asking SASTA some questions and how she defines it, and we're going to learn from each other. Audience, there is time for questions at the end. If you think of anything on the top of your head, please do put it in the chat and we can address it when it's time for questions. Thank you.
People, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary folk of the energetic world, thank you for having me on this incredible webinar with you, Jess. I'm pretty excited to learn more and to apply what I've learned in this space.
Awesome. Thanks, Sass. Thank you. So let's just kick it off. But by understanding, how do you define energy? How would you define it in the workplace? Just give us a little bit of a take of where you see, how do you define energy?
All right, so the quote that you used just now resonates with me deeply because energy to me is everything we are. It's our thoughts, our actions, our movements, and our words. So in physics, energy is the capacity of doing work. All forms of energy are associated with some sort of motion or transference. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but change from one form to another, and the term I prefer to use is transmuted. The textbook definition, just for a little FY us, the textbook definition of energy is the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. The crucial point in this definition is that the context of the strength and vitality is to be focused on an actual task. And the Greek root of energy, energia, means within work. So according to a website named learnreligions.com, they expand on the 5 layers of the human energy field, namely physical, etheric, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So with physical energy, it's the layer that we generally think of as our physical selves. The parts of the body that we can touch are energy, same as the other layers that most people can't see or sense. Okay. Secondly, the etheric energy, which is the etheric layer, it is located up to 2.5 centimeters away from the physical body. Energy medicine practitioners who are adept at psychically sensing this layer have described it as feeling much like a spider web. The etheric energy body. Yeah, it's an unusual texture if you think about it.
That's awesome. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. The etheric energy body also has also been referred to as blueprint, or holograph of the physical. Emotional energy. The emotional is centrally located amongst the 5 layers. This is where our feelings and fears reside. This layer can be quite volatile when we're experiencing extremely high or low emotions. With regards to mental energy, this is the layer from which our ideas spring. Our belief systems are also stored here. This is where our thoughts are assimilated and sorted out, and it's also where we house our personal truths, or rather our perceptions based on our experiences. With spiritual energy, the last one to land the plane, it is the layer of the human energy field where we place our consciousness or higher awareness. The final layer ties us not only to our past lives, but also to universal consciousness, which I suppose is a conversation for another night. So how I define it in the workplace, which was a little tricky for me to actually to wrap my head around as a concept. So one thing, so a couple of notes that I wrote down is that one thing 2020 has brought us into is a wave of reevaluation. Yeah. It's a newly found phase of balance in terms of our home life dynamic. Our work home dynamic. People have always been conflicted when it comes to talking about what fundamentally fuels their purpose and whether or not the work they do actually aligns with that.
Yeah.
Identifying energy in the workplace is tricky, as I mentioned, because businesses typically allocate people into roles based on what they can do.
Yes.
And it is important to ensure someone is competent at a task they're given. But it's equally important to realize that an ability to do something is not an affinity for that task.
I love that.
I was having a conversation with myself, and I was like, we have all these 5 forms of energy, and then what is the one that defines the workplace? And I was thinking about coining the term industrial energy, but we'll see how that goes.
I love that. Count me in. Or no, like I'll define it with you.
Yeah, I think it's an ever evolving concept.
Yeah.
But for now I'm sitting on work done means energy transferred. That's kind of how it is for everything that we do. So we do have a responsibility towards ourselves to recognize when we're feeling depleted, and we don't necessarily have control over our immediate environment and the way other people behave and the energy that they're putting out. That's something, unfortunately, we cannot puppeteer, and the idea is not to. And one thing is that we don't realize that the simple things we're doing in terms of lacking balance actually drain us. So areas that we need to consider are a poor diet, poor sleeping patterns,
food,
overwork, low job satisfaction, spending a significant amount of time utilizing technology, being on social media, the clutter that we surround ourselves by, whether in the workplace or the home, in our cars, uncomfortable clothing even, because you'll constantly be focusing on, for example, the lack of oxygen. If you're wearing a really, really tight skirt, that's which just happened to me one too many times. Actually, when we started this, I took off my belt. I'm not going to lie.
Get comfortable. Be free.
I have to. And then also, fully manage mental health. I think only in recent years we've actually been comfortable enough to talk about that openly. Because we're allocated, or we are put into a role in the workplace, and you've got your sick days, but nobody's actually willing to consider, unless you've got a doctor's note that says I've had the flu or I injured myself or whatever it may be, actually taking a day to sit in silence, to collect your thoughts and to recalibrate is not considered a valid day off. You know?
Yes.
And that's actually,
you feel guilty, don't you?
Metaphysical. You always do. I always did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also comes, so moving on to my next point, like unbalanced working hours. I think now, especially with the pandemic, it's been so tough to separate yourself because you're doing everything in one space.
Yes.
So the timeline is deeply blurred. It's so easy for us to move away from that 9 to 5 or that 8 to 5 because you're in that one space, and if you're focused on the task, you don't necessarily want to separate yourself from it, because anyway it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So there needs to be either ourselves or somebody else helping us stay accountable in that sense, or some sense of balance that way.
I love that, having someone else to like hold you accountable. And I think Karen actually mentioned something like that when we had spoken initially, is it's nice to have that person, especially if you're in the beginning stages perhaps of going on this journey, having that person to go with you along the way, which is my person. And you know, a lot of these ladies that are on this call, for example, are those people. But for example, my yoga and meditation is actually a lady that, you know, there's a lady that actually does that with me every day, and it helps. So I hear you, like I totally hear you. Sorry, Sas, I'm going to jump in as we go.
No worries, we need to. This is a conversation.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, don't do a presentation, because that's not what Coffee Chats is. Awesome. Awesome, Sas.
Yes,
I love that.
On the opposite end, on the upside of it all is that we need to recognize when our energy is in balance and on that high, in a sense. We do tend to be more productive, more determined, we feel more creative, and we tend to do things with apparent ease because we're more enthusiastic. It seems like we're not trudging through the mud to get to the end goal. It's exciting all the way through. So as soon as we recognize these areas of our lives that are out of balance, we can actively work towards rectifying that.
I love that. I love that. So you touched on a bit of the energies and COVID, etc. Like, is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of, do you think our energies, and I'll tell you what I think, but do you think our energies changed during COVID? So, for example, what gave me energy pre-COVID to what gives me energy during COVID might be different because we're working in the same space. Do you think there's an impact on that? In your opinion?
There has been, I'll tell you, in my opinion. Honestly, setting out, when you had to go out in public to, I don't know, fill petrol in your car, buy groceries, whatever it may be, there was a sense of panic and a deep-rooted fear that overcame people because of this, the sense of unknowing.
Yes.
And because of that, anxiety rose, and I could actually, the general feeling of the world was, the energy of the world was all lower frequency, in the sense of it's because of the unknown. And what was hard about that was recalibrating for yourself, finding out what the current state means to you and how it impacts your immediate environment, because we all had to reevaluate our desires, our expectations for the year, our forms of entertainment, our relationships, our family dynamic. There was a lot of learning and unlearning that happened. And so change can be discomforting for a lot of people. So as you said, the ways that you did things before and the way that you do them now, there may be similarities in terms of your interests. However, you may not be able to go to the yoga studio anymore, and that actually sharing that like-mindedness or that expansive consciousness where everybody comes in and shares in that that spiritual experience. We're doing it in our homes, and it's so much harder this way. But now more than ever, technology keeps us connected, but it's also torn us apart.
100%, and that's a conversation for another day.
No, it has, but it's completely it's forced us to look within, pull towards ourselves and pull away from people. So there's a duality to that, because I know a lot of people who did a tremendous amount of learning, and it was a fantastic opportunity for families to get to know one another. That was something that's loose. But at the same time, now other people value the school system so much because they realize how much responsibility they've put in the hands of other people. And it's such a confusing time. So I cannot say it's one linear thing and there's one simple solution.
I like that.
But I think that with tools like this, having conversations like this, it's making people more aware and bringing them closer to their higher purpose and equipping them with the necessary tools to better their everyday lives.
Oh, thank you so much, Sass. I said I was going to call you SASTA, but I don't know. Sass just suits your energy. Sass,
I agree, Jess.
Are you with me, Karen?
Yes, sure.
Awesome. Sass, thank you. Yeah, Sass, thank you so much. I know you need to run. I know you. Am I right in saying you're off to actually do a book launch currently online?
Yes, on Facebook Live via Chasing Dreams Publishing, we are launching a book titled For Love of Them at 7 p.m. So I've just got to join the team on another Zoom meeting to prepare.
Okay, thank you so much, Sass. I really appreciate you, being part of my journey, additional, coming on the show and sharing the love and sharing that energy and just making the topic around energy real. Because it does exist, and how we start to define that and coin it, like you say, is the next steps. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you, and I appreciate you showing up. I know you're very busy and I know you need to run, but good luck with the book launch, sending you lots of positive vibes. And if any questions come your way, I'll redirect it to you. And if anyone's listening, go check out Sass's website. We'll post it. I did post it yesterday. I'll post it again tomorrow. And let's just create this community of all these spiritual beings. Thanks, Sass.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me. What a blessing.
Have
a fantastic night, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye. Awesome. All right, guys. So just to add on to what Sass was saying, I I would like to add on what my perception and like, why I started this whole energy thing. So
Yeah.
energy, in my opinion, does not die. It is forever flowing, but it's the direction of which the energy is flowing, which is important to understand, because your energy can be flowing in one certain direction and it's not serving you a purpose. Energy
Yeah.
is defined as the power that drives every human being. It's not lost by exertion, but it's maintained. The keyword maintained. How do we maintain it? How do we identify it, etc.? It doesn't die, but it can move in an unwanted direction. Our energy might be low, but it doesn't die. How I explain it is, and I hate to say this book because it's a foul word, but it's The Art of Not Giving a. Okay, that word, fill in the blank.
Yes.
Fill in the blank. So I used it as my inspiration to explain energy. We've got an energy bank and we only have so much energy to give. It's like pouring out of an empty cup. The cup is
Yeah.
still there, but nothing's coming out until you
Yeah.
refill it. So it's
Yeah.
basically like re-energizing, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Redirecting that energy that serves your purpose. Energy can also be seen as a currency. So spend and invest it wisely. Understand who, what gives you energy, who zaps that energy, whether it's in your work life and your personal life. I promise you, in my opinion, and and this is something I'm going to try and move forward in the workplace, is what type of things zap my energy in the workplace and make that apparent to the team so that we can move forward. So thanks, Tanusha. I saw that comment. You cannot give from an empty cup. Don't be shy to put any comments, guys. We'll address it at the end. If you have questions as we're popping, because a lot of this can be, just our opinion, and maybe you have some real questions that how do we do it, the how factor, which Corinne and I will try our best to answer. So in the chat box, while we're busy, I'm going to show you guys some energy gains and energy zappers, okay? I'm going to share my screen now with you guys. If you can just see which ones resonate with you guys, and all you need to do is then write it in the chat box, which ones are your energy gains and which ones are your energy zappers. All right, so these are just personal to me, and it's also examples, but you get energy zappers and you get your energy gains. In terms of energy zappers, these are the things that drain you, tire you, make you exhausted, that, those things that you do and you just really don't have the list or the anything to, that urge to do it. So stress can be an energy zapper. That can be work stress, home stress, etc. Wearing different hats. This whole thing of work-life integration actually could be an energy zapper for some. So so continuous worrying of what others think, negative people and negative thoughts, technology, toxic people, your phone, your social medias. This is a very big one for me. So I've started this journey, being more present online and all those nice things. I don't know what happened to my screen.
It's
all
back.
those, it's back. All those nice things around, social media. I have to take a break from LinkedIn here and there. I post every day, Monday to Friday, but then I go for walks in the morning before I start my day, because we're surrounded by technology. We're surrounded by all of this. And that not only does it zap your energy, but from a frequency level, if you believe in those things, it will also, interrupt your frequencies. When it comes to energy gains, my biggest one is yoga, breathing exercises, nature, walking, exercising, I've said that, reading, cooking, long baths, spending time with family. Doing these things, you guys would not believe it, but this gives me energy. I'm an extrovert. You can only imagine how it's been working from home and being in these four walls. So I decided, let me have an online event where people want to hear me. And if they don't want to hear me, I'm going to talk. I'm going to be sure I'm going to speak. And this is, I get my energy from here. So I'm very happy and grateful for this space. Painting, watching series or documentaries, etc.